Hi, this is Luke from BossWeb, and today in this training session we're just going to talk about how to create and send email newsletter campaigns. So I've just come into email campaigns under email marketing, and here's my, as you can see, extensive list of existing campaigns. Now if I did have a few more, and hopefully you do, I could change the filter under here just to show, recently created or only those in draft, and that will help me, find what I'm after. But because I don't have a massive list, I can just leave it on View All Campaigns. Now, I could potentially create a copy of this existing one, in which case I'd right-click and then select Add Follow-Up, and that will create a new version of that campaign with all the existing content, all the same details. Email subject, from sender, all that sort of gear will be exactly the same. It's just a new campaign with that content. Alternately, if I don't want to do that, I can just create a new one from scratch just by clicking Add Email Campaign up the top here. Which brings us into the details screen. So we've got the campaign name right up the top here, and the campaign name is just that. It's the name of the campaign. Your users won't actually see this, so it doesn't have to be anything too snazzy. For example, I'm going to say this is April promotion free widgets. Okay, it makes sense to me, and that's the most important thing for the campaign name. Underneath that, we have the campaign type. So is it going to be a one-off, or is it going to be based around a date? So it could be a birthday, it could be your car service is due, it could be anything like that. We could also have recurring events where they send out a campaign just with dynamically generated content every 3 days, or every 2 weeks, or every month, or whatever. But mostly what you'll be sending out will just be one-off campaigns, which is just one campaign that you send to a bunch of people, and that's it. Underneath that, we have the delivery date. So if we click this is pretty self-explanatory. I want this campaign to be delivered on Friday the 5th of April. There we go. And delivery time, same. I want this to be delivered at 8:45 a.m. Fantastic. Okay. So underneath that we have the more options, and this is where we talk about the email from name, address, all that sort of gear. The from name can be anything you like. It really depends on how formal you want to be with this communication, as to whether it comes from me personally, Luke Hardy, or whether it's coming from the name of the business, Boss Web Systems, or Widgets Inc., or whatever. The email from address. Now, you can have as many different addresses that you're sending from as you like. There's no limit. The only thing is that you'll need to verify each one. And the process for verifying is very straightforward. If I was to just put in, Leanne at BossWeb, and I wanted to use that as an email from address, I would have to verify that. And it'll send an email to Leanne saying, someone wants to use your address for email marketing, is that okay? And she just has to click on the link, and she just has to do that once, just a one-off thing, and then Leanne at bossweb.com.au will be a verified address, and you won't have to do that again. Just a note on that though, any address that you use there will receive all of the out of office emails and all of the responses and all that sort of gear. So just be aware of that. It's probably a good idea just to use a generic contact email rather than someone's personal email. Because they're just going to get absolutely hammered. Okay, and underneath that we have the format. Now the format will always be HTML. HTML is what allows your campaign to have nice formatting and images and hyperlinks. And it's what makes it an email campaign as opposed to plain text like an SMS. And really boring. So HTML, always the way to go. Underneath that we have the legacy template. Now, we'll tell you whether you need to select a legacy template or not, depending on how we've got it set up. In this case, we have a newsletter legacy template that I'm going to use. Okay, and there we go. So I've made all my changes here, and I'm now ready to head on to the next part. So here is where we select the recipients that we want to receive our campaign. So if I click in this little send to box, it's going to drop down with all of my options. I can send it to all of my customers, absolutely everyone in the database, or I can send it to individual or multiple mailing lists. So in this case, I'm going to send it to newsletter and to my VIPs marketing lists. Okay, now very nifty feature is if I click exclude recipients, I can click in this little field here and select a list to exclude. So now, even though Bob Rogers is in the suppliers list and the newsletter list, he now won't receive it because he's being excluded. It's a very, very nifty feature. And just a note on that as well, if Bob was in the newsletter and VIPs lists in both of them at once, he'd still only receive this marketing campaign once, which is, again, very handy. So you don't need to worry about double ups or duplicates. And now we just hit next. And here we are. So this area is where we'd select a template if we didn't select a legacy template back in the details screen on the very first step. Now, if we were selecting a template here, we'd just select the template in question and then just hit next. But because I have a legacy template, I'm just going to leave that blank and hit next. Okay. And this will take us into where the magic happens. This is where we actually enter the content for the campaign. So up the top here we have the email subject. It's the subject of the email that your users will get. So as opposed to the campaign name, this needs to be something snappy, something that'll draw their attention. So April is free widgets month. Woo! Very exciting. And now we're ready to add our actual content. Now this editor is maybe a little bit different to the one you're used to with pages, blogs, that sort of thing. The most important thing to remember with this editor is that while it looks different, all the same options are there. So, I mean, you've got heading styles just here with the formatting drop down. So I'm just going to highlight this and there we go. You can bold, italicize, underline, add lists. There's your images, there's your table, there's your hyperlink, there's your alignment. So all the same options are here. It's just that Adobe has stripped out all of the stuff that you normally just clutters up the screen with campaigns. Just made it a bit more streamlined. So here's all of my awesome content. And now I'm ready to save a draft and send myself a test. So this is extremely important. I really can't talk enough about how important testing is for email campaigns. The reason being that as opposed with a page or a blog, once you send a campaign, you can't take it back. I mean, you can't just fix up a spelling mistake. You can't just go in there quickly and, tidy it up. It's gone and your customers will see it and it's out there. You can't bring it back. So you really, really need to make sure that you save the draft and you send test emails and you proof it. You really look at it. Now, when you're sending a test email, you can send it to multiple people. It doesn't have to just be to you. I can send it to Louise as well, just by separating with a semicolon there. So it's really handy for being able to send around the office, get your co-workers or your boss just to make sure it's okay, and then it's good to go. So we're just going to hit send, and they'll get a test that is basically the campaign. So you can save the draft and send the test email as many times as you need to. It's all fine. Okay. Now, once you're happy with it, and again, being careful because we can't bring it back. Once you're happy with it, hit next. Take us into the last step, which is preview and send. And this just gives us a chance to preview it in the browser as well as the test emails. So we've made sure it looks okay in the emails, looks okay in the browser, and now we are ready to send the campaign. So we just click on it down the bottom here. and it'll come up with the campaign confirmation. Now we just need to make sure that everything's correct here. There's no, spelling errors. Everything's fine, because if you send a campaign with a spelling error in the subject or the from name, you just look like an idiot. Really, it's pretty unprofessional. So you just need to double check that everything is perfect, which it seems to be here. So we're sending to newsletter and VIPs, excluding suppliers, 18 recipients. Make sure the delivery date and time is right, and the format is of course HTML. So this all looks pretty good, and now I am ready to send. Okay, so once you hit send and close, this campaign is now scheduled to go out, and it will just sit here in a scheduled state until 8:45 AM on the 5th of April, when it will start to send. Now, if you set the delivery date and time in the past, it will just send immediately. Okay, so if we head back out to the main list of email campaigns, it'll say that it's scheduled 5th of April. Alrighty, now once it's scheduled, the only way to stop it is to turn it back into a draft. So I've just gone back into the content area, and right down the bottom there's a button here that says cancel and save as draft. So that cancels the send, or cancels the scheduling, and converts it back into a draft campaign. So it will no longer go out on Friday the 5th at 8:45. And if we have a look at the list, it's gone back into a draft. Okay, that's really all there is to creating and sending campaigns. Next video you want to watch is the one on email reports. So yeah, thanks for watching, and good luck.